Time to blah, 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 blah. Miles Davis joining us. How you doing, Ian?
I'm not bad, actually, old Bean. Yourself?
Not bad. Last day of the year for us. I know that you're stepping in next week and you're going to do another week on the platform, so thank you very much for that.
What do you mean, thank you very much? So you can sit on the big fat backside at your country estate.
Oh, I mean, I love the falsehood and just the blame. I mean, we both should be working in PR, shouldn't we? Because, I mean, the lines you come out with and the bollocks you spout and the subterfuge and ducking and diving.
Oh, no, we should be in government. We should be in Parliament.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Perfectly suited to it. When you look back at your sporting year, mate, what are your highlights? I mean, as far as West Ham goes, you won a trophy this year. That must be a highlight.
Yeah, I mean, that winning the trophy was great. Obviously, it's been a long time between drinks as far as that goes. But the way that we played to win it wasn't exactly awe-inspiring. We scraped our way through. We didn't really beat anyone that brilliant until the final, probably, any decent teams. But a win's a win. And yeah, that was definitely a highlight. I think one thing that surprised me, pleasantly surprised me, is the way that New Zealand managed to sell out so many games against so many people through the doors of the Women's World Cup.
Yeah.
You would have expected it for the Football Ferns games, but the fact that fans turned up, it was just phenomenal for games that weren't even involving New Zealand sides. I just thought that was a real fillip for women's sport. But having said that, where are they now? That's always the hard thing. Same with the Women's Rugby World Cup, which was well supported. But do they turn up week in, week out? But then again, having said that, the blokes turn up week in, week out. I thought the Rugby World Cup was reasonably enjoyable, apart from the fact that it went on for 78 years. I just think it was for New Zealand sport. It was close but no cigar sort of year. You look at the All Blacks, who really silenced a few critics, I felt. And to be honest, you lose by 1 point in that game. It's just one blow of the referee's whistle.
Yeah,
in terms of whether you win or lose. The Black Caps really put up a good performance at the World Cup. No disgrace in losing the semi-final to India. So that was a fantastic one. We look now at the Breakers as well. They got to within a game of winning the whole thing. You look at the Phoenix, men and women at the moment, looking good for the new year, as long as they don't do the usual falling over. The Warriors,
brilliant. Yeah,
they got the so it's not quite there. Not quite there. I'd have to say that on the general sporting level, the thing that I think has given me the most enjoyment from a New Zealand perspective is Ryan Fox.
Yeah, good call. He's had a hell of a year, and winning at Wentworth, mate. Yeah, that win against half of the world's best. And when he told us about it, when we met him in France and we're on that train and he was telling us about that back nine, it was just almost a spiritual thing. I mean, that whole kind of zone thing people talk about, it was just fascinating to hear him talk about it. He said everywhere he wanted to hit the ball that day, Miles, he said he was just on that back nine, he said he'd be looking at a tree going, I want to drop it right in front. It just hit right in front of it. As he said, it's one of those things where he couldn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he's been phenomenal, and what a great year for him, and fingers crossed it keeps going on next year. And I think really what you could say about it is that he's now transformed himself from son of to Grant being father of.
Yeah, right now. That's right.
And that takes a fair bit of doing as far as New Zealand sports goes to usurp someone like Grant Fox in the popularity stakes.
I always ask you every year, have we grown up as sports fans here in New Zealand? Because your perspective is always good on this, coming in from, obviously you've been here a hell of a long time now, but you get to look at it from your English eyes as well, and especially with the All Blacks, who we constantly moan about. But the reality of it is, mate, is since 2019, we haven't been the best team in the world. We've lost 14 times and drawn twice in that period, mate. And we've lost at least to two different opponents every year. Now, at the height of world rugby, if you lose to two different teams, you can't be the best team in the world. So I feel we've kind of accepted a little bit of that, and it was almost like applauding the All Blacks for making the final this year, because this particular group of players, when you look at the results, Miles, they are amongst our poorest over the last 4 years between World Cups.
That's a fair comment, but I think there has been a maturing in certain areas, but I also think you've got to combine it with a dwindling of interest, a waning of interest, because I think that people aren't as invested across the whole nation as much as they used to be. There's other distractions. It's becoming less important. It's more important to use the right pronoun now rather than go and support your team. I think there's a mixture of the two. One thing that the entities I think haven't grown up are the sports bodies, particularly rugby and cricket, who are still really precious, always try and sweep stuff under the carpet, get very prickly if anyone challenges them or says anything negative about them. And I always compare them to the Americans. If you look at the Americans, and you watch a lot of American sport, you're really into it. You watch those post-match interviews and everything. They're combative. You can ask any question you want. You get an answer. It might be feisty coming back, but it's real.
That's it.
It's passionate, which is what sport should be about. It should be about passion. It should be about displaying your emotion. And over here, they just, I'll pick out the two big ones, cricket and rugby. They're just woeful. And I look at rugby, and one of the things that really disappoints me, like when I come over here, Wellington won the NPC the second year that I was here with old Ernie Curtin.
86.
Unbeaten, magnificent. I really enjoyed it. And we used to have, we had 4 All Blacks in the front row. Brian McGrattan coming off the bench. We had Scotty Crichton, Hickory, Kevin Borovich. We had all these, Gallagher, Schuster, all these guys playing for the Lions. And now the whole thing's dwindling. We've got to move out to the local park so that you can get a crowd that looks as if they're interested in the game. And New Zealand rugby, and I said this years ago, we should take the domestic game away from them, because all they care about is that top end.
That's it, mate.
And that's where all their focus has gone. And it won't be long before they're getting poor old Justin Marshall will go out and beg us for a fiver again.
England cricket, a couple of things. That test at the Basin Reserve, and we've spoken about that today, is just magnificent. Thinking about it now, God, that was in February. It was way back in February. But also the Ashes, man.
We may have a slightly different perspective on that game, but for the neutral observer, it would have been magnificent.
Yeah, and the Ashes, again, just show. Look, if you're not interested in Test cricket, I don't care. I'm not trying to convince or explain it to you at all. But if you do appreciate it, then that to me this year, those 5 tests epitomised everything I love about sport and the emotion it brings, as you say, and also just the ups and downs of life that are reflected within. You had controversy, you had close finishes, you had bloody, unexpected, where rain, it's so unfair, it stops, and then you had the goddamn Aussies actually winning it even though they didn't win it.
I know, and that was the most gutting thing, but you've got to take it on the chin. I personally, from being 2-0 down and coming back and drawing the series and basically not winning the Ashes because you didn't win the series, I thought was not a moral victory, but I felt good about it. I thought that to come back from 2-0 down, as I say, was a magnificent effort. The one that got rained off, there was only one team that was going to win that.
That's right.
So that gives you a little bit of an edge. You feel, we got as close as we possibly could done, but the weather gods play their part, and the weather gods have helped us in the past. You just got to take the rough with the smooth as far as that goes. And I 100% agree with you. Test cricket is the real test. 5 days, ups and downs. You can be a total failure with the bat. You can make up with the ball. You can be a failure with the ball. You might take a brilliant catch that turns the game around. And the ups and downs on it, especially in these tight series, which we've seen so many of in the last 5 years, it's been phenomenal. I don't think there's any other sport like it.
Finally, the European Championships next year. Is football coming home?
No, forget next year. No. Let's talk about yesterday. Let's talk about your rabble.
No, for God's sake, mate. What more do we need to say about them? This is Man United to me epitomise everything that I hate about sport at the moment. A bunch of precious prats who get paid way too much money, who've got nothing to say apart from bitch and moan about a manager when it's them. He's not chasing back, mate. He's not winning headers. He's He's not winning tackles. He's not putting in a shift in for his. To me, it's just they're just that club and the way that it has been run. I thought Van Gaal was exactly right, mate, when he said, "Don't go and manage it. It's not a football club. It's a commercial enterprise." That's what Man United is now, mate. It's like a Woolworths shopping.
Who would have thought they'd have finished below Copenhagen and Galatasaray?
Yeah, but deserved it.
Bayern, fair enough. But, it's just insane. But one thing I saw, I don't know if you ever watch any Mickey Flanagan, the comedian, the comic comedian, but he's got this little sketch where he goes, you don't go out, there's going out, he said, but then there's going out, which is what you and I used to do after the House of Football when we'd go out till 6 or 7 in the morning. That's out. And there's a picture of him today I saw on social media, and he said, Man United, they're not out. They're out.
All right, let's close on the European Championships next year. Is England finally going to win a men's football trophy of note?
Well, we did win one in 1966.
Yes, I know, but again. We've got as good a chance as anyone with the players that we've got. But unfortunately, I just think Southgate is not going to pick the right side. He's not going to play the right attacking football, which unfortunately for me is a blight on the game at the moment. There's very few sides, or the top sides, that play. They play to not lose, first of all. I've been watching a lot of clips from the 70s and the 80s, and the game, you got the ball, you got it forward at pace, you got it into the area. It was so much better to watch. None of this sort of chess, like, let's get moved back, and there should be a rule. You're not allowed to pass back if you're in the opposite.